I'd like to welcome you to RTL Construction. I will be going through the 2016 Safety Handbook. Starting on page 4, the safety responsibilities. Safety is the personal responsibility of every RTL employee. Supervisors and all employees must be safety conscious. Every job has unlimited hazards. These hazards must be recognized, eliminated, or reduced to an absolute minimum. This is the responsibility of every employee at RTL Construction, and it is obligation of every employee to enforce these safety policies. Safety rules for every employee. It is the policy of RTL Construction that everything possible will be done to protect you from accidents, injuries, or other occupational diseases while on the job. Safety is a cooperative undertaking requiring an ever-present safety consciousness on the part of all employees. To carry out this policy, the following rules apply to all employees. Number 1, follow all safety practices and rules containing to this policy. Number 2, report any unsafe conditions to your supervisor, and if he or she doesn't do anything to change the situation, call Steve Gilman or the RTL office. Number 3, do your part in keeping a clean, safe work environment. Number 4, know the location of all emergency equipment, such as first aid kits and emergency numbers and site address posted in gang box. Number 5, work safely at all times. Do not take chances. Horseplay will not be tolerated. Number 6, do not operate or repair equipment with which you are not familiar. While repairing equipment, make sure that it is unplugged. Number 7, alcoholic beverages and drugs will not be used before or during a work shift. Violation of this can lead to immediate termination of employment. Number 8, observe all rules for fire prevention. Number 9, the use of air hoses to clean yourself off is prohibited. Number 10, protective equipment such as safety glasses or goggles, hard hats, and gloves are to be worn at all times. Earplugs, safety vests, and face shields should be worn when conditions warrant. With earplugs, that would be when the noise level exceeds 90 decibels, such as when that from a hammer drill, powder-actuated, or gas-driven fastening tools. Safety vests must be worn when working around moving equipment such as forklifts, cranes, or terrain scissor lifts. Face shields should be worn when operating a hammer drill overhead, or when using a partner saw or a chop saw to cut metal. Number 11, loose clothing such as unbuttoned sleeves or shirts, untucked tails, or loose ties are not to be worn around the equipment as they can get caught. Discretion should be used when wearing jewelry. Number 12, keep all tools, materials, and equipment in a safe and orderly manner. Keep aisles and walkways clear at all times. 13, defective tools should not be used. Tag and report them for immediate repair when damaged or in need of reconditioning. 14, use tools for their intended purpose only. 15, never throw materials or waste over the side of a staging or elevated work area, such as a roof deck, without making sure the area below is free from personnel and equipment. If you must do this, make sure to flag off the area and use a spotter to make sure that others do not enter the area. 16, do not break or disconnect pressure lines without first bleeding the line of pressure. 17, on power-driven equipment, make sure all guards are in place before starting equipment. Disconnect portable equipment when not in use and place out of way to prevent tripping hazard. All safety device equipment should be used when required, such as harnesses and lanyards, beam clamps, beam straps, guardrails, table saw guards. Don't tamper with any electrical equipment, machinery, air, or water lines in a manner not within the scope of our work. When lifting heavy objects, lift with your leg muscles, not the similar muscles that are in your back, and get help from someone when the lift is too heavy. Finally, use ground fault circuit interrupters, GFCIs, at all times. When using building or house power, such as when working on a remodel job site, use a portable GFCI at the outlet to guarantee grounding. When on a job site, this is using temporary power. Make sure that it is being tested by a trained individual. And just remember, safety brings you home each night. On page 6, the safety equipment, personal protective equipment. Proper safety equipment is necessary for your protection. The company will provide possible safety equipment for its employees. Use all safeguards, safety appliances, or devices furnished for your protection and comply with all regulations that may affect your safety. Wear all gear properly, all snaps and straps fastened, and harnesses worn properly. Do not alter or replace any approved appliance without written permission from your supervisor or manufacturer. Hard hats. This is a protective equipment that will guard against impact injuries and penetration of falling and flying objects. Shall meet the requirements of ANSI Z89.1 1986. For the protection against electrical shocks and burns, hard hats shall meet the requirement of ANSI Z89.1 1971. Hard hats shall be worn the correct way unless used with accessories such as welding helmet and face shields. Hard hats should be inspected often for wear, damage, or abuse. Hard hats should be taken out of service if they had anything fallen on them or show any damage at all to suspension or hat. Safety glasses. Safety glasses will protect your eyes from injury associated with impact, slash, or dust. Safety glasses should have an ANSI Z87 rating. If your safety glasses become damaged or scratched, notify your foreman or superintendent to receive a replacement pair. Gloves. Your hands play a crucial role in performing your daily work tasks and need to be protected from sharp objects. To avoid cuts and lacerations at RTL Construction, we feel that wearing gloves will help reduce the chance of injury. Gloves are provided to you upon hiring, and just the same as safety glasses, if they become worn or simply worn out, simply hand in your old pair to your foreman or superintendent to receive a replacement pair. As mentioned before, hard hats, safety glasses, and gloves are to be worn 100% of the time when working at RTL job sites. On page 8, about scaffolds. All scaffolds must be properly erected, dismantled, and altered under the supervision of a competent person. Scaffold must be inspected and signed off by a competent person prior to the first use of the scaffold. The scaffold should be capable of supporting at least 4 times the maximum intended load. The scaffold should be plump and square with cross bracing. Guardrails and toe boards shall be installed on all open sides and ends of the platform more than 10 feet high or exposed to a fall of 6 feet or greater. Will require some sort of fall protection. The guardrail requirements: the top rail is 38 inches to 45 inches, the mid rail is 20 inches to 22 inches, and the toe board is a 3-inch minimum height. The maximum distance from face to work is 14 inches, and the maximum 3 inches from face to outriggers. A base plate is required for all scaffolds, 2 inches to 10 inches minimum, mud sill if required. Access requirements: portable fixed ladders or stairwells, 24 inches or more to first step, 16 3/4 inch maximum rung spacing, and 11 3/4 inch maximum width. Scaffolds must be tied to a structure 4-to-1 ratio. Narrow 30-inch scaffold frames every 10 foot. Scaffolds must be properly maintained and in good working order. Scaffold platforms must be fully planked or decked, and all employees must be trained before using scaffolding. Take a look on page 9 for common scaffolding violations. On page 10, about ladders. Select the proper ladder for the job. Inspect the ladder for damage prior to use. Extend minimum of 3 inches past the landing. Tie off the extension ladder. Never climb closed step ladder. Completely open step ladders and properly lock arms. Never carry anything up the ladder. Always maintain 3-point contact when climbing. Never allow yourself to work off-side of ladder. Make sure ladder rungs are clean and clear of mud, grease, and snow, and never let your belt buckle pass beyond either ladder rail. Do not stand above the second step from the ladder or step ladder and the fourth rung from the top of extension ladders. Remember the 4-to-1 ratio when setting up extension ladders. The setback needs to be 1 foot from each 4 foot of length. Position the ladders so that you can face your work. Some more pictures for you to look at are on page 11 about ladders. Please read details on page 12. The number one thing to keep in mind, handrails need to be free from any objects such as cords. Now on to page 13. Aerial equipment and forklifts. All equipment will be maintained. On page 13, there are aerial equipment and forklifts. All equipment will be maintained in a safe operating condition. It is the responsibility of the driver to report any defective conditions. Do not get on or off equipment while it is in motion, and all motors shall be shut down before fueling, and smoking while fueling is not permitted. No one but the operator shall ride on a rough terrain forklift, and the operator shall examine his or her equipment every day for any possible problems, and these shall be reported immediately to the foreman. Operators shall take signals from one person only, and when taking signals, do not move equipment unless signal is fully understood. The use of personal fall protection must be worn when required, such as harnesses, lanyards, and an aerial boom lift. The use of seatbelts in all equipment is a must. You are expected to wear them at all times. On page 14, power tools. Make sure that tools and electrical cords that you are using have a ground plug. Always use GFCIs. And cords with repaired ends are permitted. However, the repair end can only be put on the cord by an RTL maintenance staff. Anybody found putting on replacement ends will be written up. Never use a cord that has been damaged. Protect cords from any sharp edges or being driven over. And take out of service and tag any tools or equipment not working correctly. Do not remove or alter any guards or shields. Use the correct tool for the job. And do not wear loose clothing that could get caught in any tool or equipment. Power actuated tools. All users of power actuated tools must have the proper training. See Steve Gilman to obtain training certification. Make sure to have the warning signs posted around the work area. Examples would be entrance doors and gang boxes. Always use the tool strictly in accordance with operating instructions, and never leave the tool loaded when unattended. Dispose of the dispensed and misfired boosters properly, not in the floor or walls. Never point the tool at yourself or any bystander, and always treat any powder-actuated tool as if it was loaded to protect others from being harmed. Laser safety. Spot lasers, line lasers, and rotating lasers are used daily to help you do your job, but they do pose eye hazards to you and others working in the same work area. The red laser visibility glasses are only to aid you in spotting the laser beam and have no ability to protect your eyes from the harm of the laser. Signage should be posted near work area, again including entrance doors and gang boxes. The plane of the laser beam should be well above or well below eye height. RTL construction lasers are Class 3A and Class 2 lasers. If ever questioned by OSHA, always remember that the lasers we are using are under Class 5A. Fall protection on page 17. Fall protection is required whenever employees are exposed to falls greater than 6 feet. RTL will provide in its written plan that establishes requirements which will ensure fall protection training, operation, and best practices communicated and understood by employees affected. RTL will provide a fall protection site-specific plan prepared by a qualified person whenever it can be demonstrated that conventional fall protection is infeasible or creates a greater hazard to our employees. RTL has adopted a no-tolerance policy for fall protection above 6 feet. If any employee is found to be working above 6 feet without proper fall protection, there will be an immediate termination of employment. The employee can be reinstated for employment only after they take the OSHA 10 and the fall protection training course offered by RTL. To avoid To aid you in having the proper fall protection equipment on site, RTL issues every employee a harness and lanyard as a part of their tool inventory. In each gang box there is one retractable, one beam strap, and one roof plate, allowing you to have something to tie off with. All employees must take the fall protection training course prior to going to work. It will explain the proper processes for fall protection. Now on to page 19, floor and wall openings. Openings are defined as a gap or void 30 inches or more in height and 18 inches or more wide in a wall or partition through which employees can fall to a lower level. A hole is defined as an opening 2 inches or more in diameter. Both of these need to be guarded by either a cover or a guardrail. If you are going to cover a hole and the fall hazard is greater than 6 feet to the lower level, you must have some means of fall protection to install that cover. Any openings that we create as a result of our work must be protected when there is a potential fall hazard greater than 6 feet. Fire prevention and control. Job site precautions. Know where the fire extinguishers are and how to properly operate them. Notify your foreman or superintendent when the fire extinguisher has been discharged so it can be refilled. First aid kits will be accessible to all employees in gang boxes. Good housekeeping is a necessity for fire prevention. All equipment motors must be turned off when fueling. Powered actuated tools used in prohibited inflammable areas or near flammable liquids. If no smoking signs are posted, they are to be observed. Gasoline shall be stored in an approved safety can that has a spark arrestor in it. Other flammable liquids should be stored in approved containers as well, labeled properly and in an approved area. Always coordinate with the GC as to where the best storage spot is. Welders and cutters. Welders and cutters will be supervised and precautions will be taken. Areas will be inspected after cutting with a torch or the use of a welder for any signs of fire to the building or equipment in the area. Any combustible items must be removed from the area or covered with fire-resistant tarpaulins. Cutting and welding is prohibited where explosive and vapors are present or where combustible items are stored. Wear proper personal protective gear such as gloves, capes, and welding helmets. Protect or cover any glass or windows from flying sparks or slag. Welding curtains must be installed to prevent others from being flashed by the welding arc and have proper ventilation. The emergency plan. First aid kits will be in every gang box. The job site address should be posted in the gang box as well. The site emergency plan should include emergency route to get emergency personnel to the injured. If the incident results in a lost day claim, Steve Gilman will keep in communication with the injured employee. Any employee who is involved in an accident or injury will be subject to post-accident drug screening. RTL Construction will encourage rehabilitation and will have any modified duty position to accommodate the injured employees. The emergency evacuation procedure. Know all exit routes. Do not take elevators. Know location of stairways and ladders, and stay calm. Once evacuated, employees are to go towards their designated safe area where a head count will be performed by the site foreman and further instructions will be given. The fire reporting procedure. Call 911, have job site address available, which can be found in the gang box, and be familiar with the emergency route. The emergency procedures. Call 911 if needed. Addresses are posted on site. Report all injuries to the foreman, superintendent, or safety director. The foreman responsibilities are to get a first aid kit. Call Steve Gilman or Sean at the office. Posted in the gang box is the nearest clinic. If 911 was not called, transport injured employee to the clinic. Foreman will do this if the superintendent or safety director are not available. Procedures for all injuries seeking medical attention. Get the injury treated to be done at the clinic listed in the folder or call Steve ASAP. Employees will be asked to take a drug screen in accordance with RTL's drug policy. Injured parties seeking medical attention will be off work until the results from the drug screening are verified and the information is given to Steve Gilman, which usually takes about 2 days. Positive and negative results, see drug and alcohol policy. It is mandatory that all information from the clinic is faxed to the office. This includes detailing the injuries, restrictions, and etc. Call the office after treatment is received. No work until the paperwork is in the office. After-hour procedure, seeking medical attention, leave a message at the RTL office, call Steve Gilman, and call your job superintendent. Please read page 35 on accident investigation yourself. What to do if an OSHA inspector arrives at your job site. Occupational Safety and Health Act authorizes the Secretary of Labor to carry out workplace inspections and investigations to determine if employees are complying with safety and health standards. The first thing is to verify the inspector's credential. Ask to see a photo ID. Ask the reason for inspection, why he or she is at your job site. Scheduled inspection, someone calling in as a complaint or just driving by the site and saw something wrong. Notify Mark, Ethan, Tim, Mike D, Blaine, Jason F, Travis, or Steve. Inform the inspector that company policy requires you to contact the company superintendent or our safety directors, and they are to be present during the inspection. If he or she insists on starting, go with him or her to have another employee contact the office. Have an opening conference. Before the inspection begins, direct the inspector to the general contractor's trailer for an opening conference. Define what he or she wants to see and visit. Answer all questions truthfully, but don't volunteer information. If you don't know the answer to a question, tell the inspector that you do not know, and we'll get back to him or her with the proper answer to answer a question. If the inspection is based on a complaint, ask the specifics, including whether the complaint is a current employee. Then take the inspector directly to the location of the condition involved. While the informal conference is being conducted, use this time wisely. Direct your employees to make last-minute checks of their work areas, such as housekeeping, cords, fall protection, and scaffolds. Accompany inspector at all times, but do not volunteer information. Stay with the inspector at all times to answer his or her questions and treat him or her courteously. Give requested records at opening conference. Don't hesitate to ask questions and be sure to record the inspector's response. Ask what and why he or she is measuring and photographing, and take pictures of them taking pictures and what they're taking pictures of. Make sure that all crew members know that they are not required to take test subjects or to have measuring devices attached to them if they don't want to. Always let everyone know that it is up to them if they want to speak to the OSHA inspector. It is not a requirement, and they are allowed to have union representatives with them at the time of the interview. Correct alleged dangerous conditions immediately. Take note of any alleged dangerous conditions that the inspector points out. Don't conduct demonstrations. If a piece of equipment isn't in use and the inspector asks you to demonstrate how it works, you're under no legal requirement to do so. Having a closing conference when the inspection is complete. Have a closing conference to review and clarify any alleged violations. Correct any incorrect information, but do not negotiate. Correct any incorrect information but do not negotiate penalties. Get written statement for all employees involved. Safety data sheets, SDSs. SDSs provide you with specific information on the chemicals to use. The program coordinator will maintain a binder at RTL Construction with SDS on every substance on the list of hazardous chemicals identified in the facility. SDSs are made available for review for all employees and are located in the gang box. The program coordinator is responsible for acquiring and updating SDSs. RTL will contact the chemical manufacturer or vendor. In addition, research is necessary, or if an SDS has not been supplied in its initial shipment. On page 28, training. Everyone who works with or is in or is potentially exposed to hazardous chemicals will receive initial training on the employee's right to know standard and the safe use of those chemicals. A program has been prepared for this purpose. Whenever a new hazard is introduced, additional training will be provided. Training updates will be performed at least annually and may be brief summaries of information including the previous training sessions. The program coordinator is responsible for ensuring that the training is provided. Records of training will be maintained for 5 years in RTL construction and will include dates of the training, name, title, and qualifications of the person who conducted the training, names and job titles of employees who completed the training, and a brief summary or outline of the information that was included in the training. GHS. GHS stands for Global Harmonized System, which is a system of classification and labeling of chemicals. What it does is it defines health, physical, and environmental standards of chemicals and creates a classification uses available data or chemicals for comparison with the defined hazard criteria. And it communicates hazardous information as well as protective measures on labels and safety data sheets, SDSs. Major changes to the hazard communication standard are they no longer do we use MSDS. Now we drop the M and just call it SDS, which stands for safety data sheets. Labels will contain 3 things: signal words to indicate the level of severity of hazard. Danger is used for more severe hazards. Warning, which is used for less severe hazards. Pictograms, a symbol in a red square frame shaped like a diamond provided on the following page. And hazard statement that describes the nature of the hazard. Safety data sheets will now have a specific 16-section format. Section 1 is identification. Section 2 is hazard identification. Section 3, information and ingredients. Section 4, first aid measures. Section 5, firefighting measures. Section 6, accidental release measures. Section 7, handling and storage. Section 8, exposure controls, PPE. Section 9, physical and chemical properties. Section 10, stability and reactivity lists. Section 11, toxicology information. Section 12, ecological information. Section 13, disposal consideration. Section 14, transport information. Section 15, regulatory information, and Section 16, other information. Page 30 shows pictograms related to GHS. Now on page 33, the training and certifications. All new hires that are not qualified in the following areas: OSHA 10, scissor lifts and aerial powered actuated lasers will be required to obtain these certifications within 3 months of their hire date. Employees may be subject to disciplinary actions. The general standard operating procedures and tool lists. Work hours 6:30 a.m. to 3:00 p.m. 6:30 a.m. as agreed and made known. Gang box at 6:25 a.m. and ready to work at 6:30 a.m. Breaks at 9:30 a.m. to 9:40 a.m. 12:00 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. 2:30 p.m. to 2:40 p.m. Quitting time: pickup exterior 15 minutes prior and interior 5 minutes prior. Leaving time after everyone is wrapped up and all equipment is locked up. Attendance: absent, call the office. Tardy, call the office. Disciplinary action will be taken if there are no calls made by 6:30 a.m. Time cards: complete time cards daily, including daily production written on the back of it. Have your time card initialed by your foreman. Original time cards should be turned into the foreman at the end of each week. If you leave early or are off, your time card needs to be turned in before you leave. All time cards must be in the office by Monday night. If time card is not in by Monday or is filled out incorrectly, disciplinary action will be taken on a case-to-case basis. Weekly toolbox topic will be written on the back of your time card along with your signature. Disciplinary actions for GSOP only. First is a verbal warning. Second is a written warning. Third is a suspension without pay. If you receive 3 warnings within 6 months, you will be suspended. Fourth is termination of employment. Standard operating procedures. Dress code is work boots, no tennis shoes. Hard hats, which is required 100% of the time. Pants, which are in good condition, tapered white, wear whites. Jeans are better. Shirt, company t-shirt or non-offensive shirt. Sleeves need to be at least 4 inches in length. Gang box content, safety glasses, dust mask, earplugs, and first aid kit. Please take a look at page 35 for your tool list. And that is it for the 2016 tool or safety information.